Right, we're live, guys. Good evening.
Good evening.
Right, what I'm going to quickly do, I'm going to go over to my YouTube, and now my laptop's decided to be a bugger. I'll go over to YouTube, share the link. So how your day's been, gents?
Quiet, usual shite for a working day. At least I'm at home.
No, it's one day closer to retirement, Ian.
Well, I'm looking at retirement.
Right.
Seriously looking at retirement.
Yeah, well,
fortunately, it's looking back at me, giving me the
because of my health. Because of my health and all that, and the breakdown that I had in 2020, I ended up opted for early retirement. I think by the time my pension comes through, I'll be lucky if it's 4 figures. I think it's less than $1,000 after 26 years of working as a healthcare assistant. So for some reason, my laptop's been a bugger. It's not letting me load the link. So what I'll have to do, if you two chat among yourselves for a second, I'll send it via my phone. I hate technology, as you know. So
yes, I love it when it works. Hate it when it doesn't.
It very rarely works.
Anyway.
Right, let's have a look.
Yeah, you look like you're away with the fairies, mate.
I'm just looking at some of my notes and stuff here. It was off in La La Land, looking at some of my notes.
Joe's got his computer with him this time. He didn't have it last time because he was away. So
yeah.
Right, there we go.
So where are you based, Joe?
Right now I'm in Carcassonne, France.
All right. That's not French accent.
Yeah, it's very good if I try. You just have to say, let's see, breakfast, I had a croissant, a cafe, and a cigarette. It's standard normal.
I blame the croissants for my diabetes. Because when Heidi was working in a co-op, they used to get the food at a discount price at the end of the day, stuff I hadn't sold. So she'd always bring me a croissant home at the end of the day, and that's why. But you saw the picture earlier, Joe. How much I've lost, the weight I've lost.
Yeah,
quite impressive.
I've lost about 60 pounds since my heart attack.
The best croissant that I've had since I've been in Europe this time was in Palma de Mallorca, Spain. So here they're good, but here I'd rather have a pain au chocolat instead of a croissant.
Oh. I'm not a fan of either. I'll be honest.
Lovely.
I do like a hot croissant, but the other one's yuck.
No. Really, pain au chocolat with 2 little stripes of chocolate in there?
I'm not a big fan of chocolate, to be honest.
Oh,
so
I don't like chocolate, but
I
like Black Forest Gatto. I'm not pastry sort of thing, but even that, these days I'm more into my savouries than I am me.
I prefer savoury and bitter. I'm not really a big fan of sweet.
Yeah, well, I used to be. I used to love, like I say, anything like that. Black Forest Gatto. Speaking of forests.
Oh, yeah.
Black Forest is haunted, so you might as well.
Well,
if I had a Black Forest Gatto, I think my toilet would be haunted.
Love some Black Forest Gatto.
So yeah,
my neighbor brought me over a nice little tart, an apple tart, the other day. She cooks pretty good, so I get a lot of the. In the springtime, she brings over a big old bucket of fresh plums and stuff. You know.
Oh yeah, I'll go with that.
I've not had a decent apple pie since my nan died, so I ain't had a good apple pie in 10 years.
So good.
See, I grew up in a spiritualist family, and she used to do a lot of the bakes for the spiritualist churches that she went to through the years.
Right.
She lived in Ipswich when she died, and people were coming from London to Ipswich just to buy her apple pies.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
yes.
Right, so who wants to start then, gents? We've got Haunted Forests.
Haunted Forest. All right. Which
Well, why don't we start in the UK?
Yeah. Whichwood, Oxfordshire.
You bet.
Yeah. Whichwood?
It's just reading it here. I've got it. Apparently seen visions of horse-drawn cart carrying a pair of weeping children. It's quite fairly regular occurrence as well, from all accounts.
So surely, though, if it's a regular occurrence, that means it's residual.
Oh, it's
Correct.
residual, yeah. Yeah, there's no interaction.
There's none.
This is a problem. It's
as are a lot of the
haunted forests are residual.
Yeah. So,
it's only things like the Japanese one.
Oh, not Hibachi. That's Romania.
Yeah.
Suicide Forest in Japan.
Yeah, that's the one. The suicide one.
See,
There's
a lot of legends about that Japanese one. I looked up some information about it about a year or so, maybe about 2 years ago now. That forest did not have the legend of suicides and hauntings in it until about the 1960s, when a Japanese author wrote a detective book, and the serial killer in the book, used that forest to put the dead bodies.
Yeah, I've heard that one, but I've also heard it has one of the legends I've read up on it dates back to the 15th century.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, there's a lot of different. You go looking. They said it dates back to the 15th century when. What was it they said? I'm trying to remember what the thing was. There's a battle going on or something, and rather than surrender to the enemy, the troop committed suicide in there.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on there with the with battles and things way back to since the eruption of Mount Fuji way back in the 800s. But the suicide, you're right, Carl. The suicide part of it, where modern day suicides, that's been about the 1960s or so. Before that, though, there have been still a lot.
I used to know the name of the book, but I really can't remember the name of the book off the top of my head. And I can't remember the author's name, but yeah, I saw that and I thought, interesting.
Yeah,
it's how somebody's come up with an idea for a book. You know yourself, being an author, Joe. Someone's come up with an idea for a book, and then real life seems to have taken it on. So it's sort of kind of giving it a life of its own.
Well, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it?
Yes. Yep, that is true.
I think of it, self-fulfilling. Yeah.
It is. It's one of those. The forest itself has been haunted for a long, long while. Like I say, you read the thing, but like I said, the suicide side of it, and so much so that these days there are regular patrols and everything to stop people going in.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, she wants to get on camera. Hello, you. You want to get on camera, do you? Yeah, you do. Oh. Can you sit still? You sit still? I'm not talking to you belly during a live stream. Go away. Trust you.
I'm the queen.
Yeah. Worship me.
Yeah, she does. She gets spoiled rotten, she does, especially when the kids come over. There was one that I heard of. It's called the Coomswood Dark, and it's in Suffolk. Now, it's spelled COMB as in comb, but it's pronounced Coombe.
Right, Coombe. Right.
Yeah.
The only thing is, I can only find one person anywhere on the internet that's reported it.
Now, what's the story behind that?
Basically, I can't remember, was it late 60s or early 70s, this woman, she was in her teenage years, Her and a load of friends went into the forest camping, getting drunk, smoking a bit of pot. They was in there. It was starting to get dark, and a humanoid type figure came walking through the forest. But rather than it being a human shape, it spans like multiple amounts of trees. There's like a huge shadow that come walking towards them. And as it was coming towards them, all the animals went quiet. And they saw that come up there, froze, and then run. And that's really all there is about it. But apparently it's only a local story. Everyone in the local area around Coombswood knows of it. But I can't find any info about it anywhere else.
You quite often find that, though. There's a lot of local myths that don't make it beyond the boundaries of the town area, or the village that they're in.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if
you're talking about it being an area of scientific interest on the outskirts of Stowmarket in Suffolk.
Yeah.
It's an ancient copse woodland. They talk about scientifically here. Just a second. Maybe there's.
That's the place.
Access through the church grounds, through Holyoke Farm. Types of trees. That's all there is about it.
I think
I'm just looking now.
That's what I found about it.
Printed a few things off, but
I'm just trying to go off. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my old decaying head, my brain.
I don't rely on my brain for out like that these days.
I don't usually, but the only really personal sort of like interactions I've had with a haunted woods was my childhood growing up in Epping Forest.
Yeah,
I lived in Waltham Abbey, and Epping wasn't great in the 70s, and it's even worse now. So
you got Dick Turpin.
Yes,
very famously for Epping.
Where Turpin actually killed, what's his name, Thomas guy. He shot dead. That is in the location that was actually Boudicca's campground in Epping Forest.
No, she got around.
Oh, yeah, she did.
Yeah.
Did our Boudicca.
She done a lot of damage as well.
She did a lot of good.
When they sacked Colchester, I think it was something like 80,000 people Boudicca's army took out, the ICD took out.
Yeah.
And the trouble was, it weren't just Romans, it was their own as well.
Yeah, but the trouble is, it's like anything. It's tribal.
Yeah.
And if they weren't fighting the Romans, they were fighting each other.
Yeah. So
it wasn't a case of, we'll take these out. It's a byproduct. It was one or the other. They were both going to get it sometime.
Yeah.
And the Iceni suffered a hell of a lot themselves.
Yeah. Well, apparently Boudicca originally came from just outside of Norwich.
I believe so, yeah.
So, but I was because I was going to do a piece for Paranormal Anglia about Boudicca and ghosts and things like that, and things that I'd heard growing up. Because obviously, growing up in Epping, Boudicca and Turpin were quite like on everyone's lips. Everyone spoke about it in the 70s. And there's a lot from what I've seen. There's not even any proof that she actually existed.
Well, this is a problem. There wouldn't be. Because at the time, the only ones who kept any sort of record were the Romans.
Yeah.
And she was the one who basically wrecked the Romans. So it's like most legends, they're written donkey's year, 100 years after the event.
Yeah. See, from what a lot of research I've done about her, it seems to be a lot like Robin Hood. That there was a figure, Boudicca, or there was a figure, Robin Hood, but it wasn't one person. was a culmination of X amount of people.
Umpteen different people all rolled into one, yeah.
Same thing with King Arthur. They rolled a bunch of people in to create a King Arthur.
Yeah.
Although they reckon they've got proof that Merlin did exist.
Right.
So
he went to Hogwarts, right?
Again, Merlin's another one.
Yeah.
There was no documented records. It was like in the day, it was all word of mouth. And Merlin and King Arthur certainly started as from a French novel.
Or he started from a French novel that was based on Welsh or English.
Or even Spanish. Well, there's Spanish.
Could be.
I had heard that, yeah. Yeah, but
so
like growing up I grew up in Waltham Abbey, 10, 15 minutes away from Epping. From my nan's house, because she brought me up for the first 6 years of my life. I could look out my bedroom window and I could actually see Epping Forest over the back of the fields.
Yeah.
And growing up, me and whoever she was fostering at the time would often wander up there. And every Sunday, without fail, provided it wasn't raining, during the spring and the summer, we'd go to High Beach, which is a notoriously haunted spot anyway. And that was one of the pub that's at High Beach, Royal Oak, is where Dick Turpin was actually captured.
Yeah.
So, and I remember being down there playing frisbee and that game with the ball on the string that was about in the 70s and all that with a kid called Jamie that my nan fostered. And yes, it's open land. People take their horses out for rides and all that. We heard horses galloping and we looked around and we couldn't see anything. And we must have been 6, 7-ish years of age. And it scared the living crap out of us.
Yeah. But
I don't even today, I don't know if it was just people running their horses out because it's Epping Forest was
probably was.
King, so.
Probably was. You know yourself, same travels. But when you're susceptible.
Yeah.
You hear things, and if you can't see it, which is why most people believe in ghosts. And when you see them posting stuff on the net, and you think, like your photo of you at the shower.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a male presence. Definitely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Do you know what?
My bloody reflection, and you were told you were wrong.
Yeah. Until you mentioned that, I forgot I'd done that. I don't know if do you remember me doing that, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think I remember that. I'd literally done a picture that was reflecting myself. I put it on there to the group, so people go, "Oh, it's a ghost! It's a ghost!" And then I came back and said, "It's not a ghost. It's me. I set it up. I'd done the picture. No, you're a liar."
Yeah. I did that once with a thermal camera. You know, look at a thermal camera, and I was facing a metal cabinet, and people thought, "Look, there's a ghost right there." It's like, no, that's me. It's a thermal camera. We're looking at the heat reflecting off the cabinet.
Yeah. But talking about the Epping though, is where Boudicca's camp is an area called Loughton Camp. Yeah. And it was near there. You go through Epping into where Loughton Camp is, and you end up in Loughton near the train station. It was up there that I must have been about 3 or 4 years old. My aunt and uncle had just got married. I was a page boy, dressed up in some god-awful 1970s outfit you put page boys in. And about 10 or 11 of us.
I can just see you with the frills on.
I think it might have been a sailor suit, to be honest.
Huge collar.
Yeah. We went and played because the adults were all getting drunk and doing all this, that, and the other. We went out to this little bit of woods. You come out of the building, cross the car park, over a little tiny stone wall, and behind that wall was the very outskirts of Epping Forest. It was like there's a few trees there, a gap, and then actually the main forest started. We was in there. There was 11 of us actually thinking about it because one of my cousins was there, remembering him now. And we was down there, and 9 of us saw this. a figure that I could only describe as the what's he called? The child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yeah.
Came
that shit up, if nothing else.
Came walking through the forest and just literally disappeared into a tree. And 9 of the 11 of us saw it, and we run screaming. And that was on, like I said, the border of Epping.
Yeah.
Epping Forest.
Wow.
Well, you think about it. There's so many myths and legends like dryads and nymphs and that that allegedly live in forests. Every tree's got its own spirit.
Yeah.
And it's when you're in there, especially when it's dark, you're wandering through, it's very, very easy to get spooked and not necessarily see things that aren't there, but even if you see them, your mind's saying, no, it's not, because we're not designed to...
Oh, it's the flight or fight scenario, isn't it, really? From back in the caveman day, you're in the forest looking for food, you hear a noise, is that something coming to take your food? Is that something going to take you? Oh, no, I'm going to run just in case. Yeah. Or I'm going to stay here and try and defend.
But you think about it as well, a lot of the stories, they seem to stop around the 60s.
Yes, yeah, I have noticed that.
I've got a theory on that one. That's when motor cars became more common.
Yeah.
So you think about it, we don't walk through forests these days. We tend to go through in cars, so we miss a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
There's on St. Peter's Way near me, A6. There's supposed to be a young female who haunts, and that was a bit of a copse at one point before the dual carriageway was driven through it near the canal. She was murdered, and her spirit is always seen around that area, or was.
Yeah.
Now people go past at 50 mile an hour and don't even notice cars and buses coming at them.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the spirit stopped when we took to cars.
Have they stopped, or is it that life is just so busy nowadays we just don't get the time to see them?
Possibly. So, the other thing I know, I've only seen 2 spirits that I'm aware of that I know were spirit, and they were as solid as you two.
Yeah.
They're both within 2 foot of me. If I didn't know the fact that they were spirit, one was my granny.
Yeah.
And one was the uncle of one of my schoolmates. Right. And I'd been an altar boy at his funeral 2 months before. And I know full well he was. I was walking down the road to pick my brother up, and this guy walking in front of me. And as I got level with him, I looked at him and aye. And as I walked past him, every hair on my body went up.
Well, they do say out of every 200 people you walk past in the street, one of them will be a spirit.
Yeah. But like I said, if you didn't know that they weren't spirit, that they were dead,
you'd have just thought it was a person.
You'd have just thought they were a person. So how many times do you, like you say, how many times do you pass someone?
Yeah. I know.
I was telling you about the lady in white in Heidi's place last time. We just got out. I think we'd gone to some sort of party or reception or something. We'd got out the car, and I was talking across the roof to Heidi about, I can't remember if it was about something we had to do or something, but I was talking to her. And a lady dressed fully in white with a big white summer bonnet, an old lady, literally walked past behind her into the garden. I was like, what the hell? I thought somebody had walked in. I honestly thought it was a real person. And a few times she's been seen further down in the garden by the back door. and even Heidi, one of Heidi's sisters, who's a copper, that's one of these "when you're dead" types. She said she's actually said to Heidi one time, "I've just seen an old woman in your garden," and her sister literally does not believe in ghosts at all.
Yeah.
So, but Joe, is it Hiabachu Forest?
Well, what was that?
Is it the Hiabachu Forest or whatever it's called?
Oh yeah, in Romania.
Yeah, you were saying you got a lot of info about that.
Well, I've got some info about it. It was basically there's stories of missing people. There's stories of apparitions on occasion, and there's a lot of UFO stories going on there.
Mm-hmm.
So quite a number of, you'll be walking through, and the forest is real thick as you're going through down a path, a woodland path, and then all of a sudden you wind up with a clearing in front of you. And the clearing has got a really weird feeling, and absolutely nothing grows there except short grass. That's it.
There was one of the TV shows. It may have been Destination Truth.
I bet it was.
They went there, and one of them was sat in a chair in the middle of that clearing, and on camera they caught him being yeeted straight across the field. He got pulled and thrown about 5 or 6 feet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Trouble is though, it's TV.
Well,
exactly. So really, what are you going to believe?
Exactly, and I think it's only going to get worse with AI.
Oh, AI is driving me crazy now.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is that the forest where it's over that neck of the wood where there's a fella with his daughter? And this fella's walking his dog, and he walks into a clearing and sees this girl of about 6 or 7 in a red coat floating.
Oh, that Russian one, yeah. I know that.
Is that Russian?
Yeah, it's Russia. That
no,
one.
Right. I knew the and it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's long been debunked, I believe, that one.
But this is the thing, it's
because if I remember rightly, the little girl suddenly drops down because they hear him and then they run off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe that's long since been debunked.
I'd like to see more evidence myself, because a lot of these people who debunk stuff.
Mm.
I posted a photo that I took on one of the web pages.
Yeah.
I took it. I'd only taken it a couple of days before.
Mm.
And I got this so-called expert come back. This has been debunked so many times. Stop posting crap. And I said, I took the fucking thing. Pardon my French. I took it 2 days ago. This is my fault. This is an old photo. And I thought, with people like him around,
yeah,
I'm going to debunk it, and I don't care who. Like your photo.
Yeah, and to be honest, until you reminded me about that, I'd completely forgotten I'd done that. But you saying about that also reminds me of another one that I'd done like that to show how easy it is. I went on to must have been about 5-6 years. Actually, I think me and I had been separated 5 years. So it must have been about 6 years ago, because it was before me and her split up. I got a random image of a random forest off of Google Images and came up with a random story of hearing children crying and this, that, and the other. And people were coming on there going, yeah, I've walked through that forest. I've heard the children crying and this, that, and the other. And I'd 100% made the story up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's like anything. I used to do it at work. One of the last places I worked. I'd actually go out onto the shop floor and I'd tell one lad one thing and I'd tell another lad another. And I'd sow the seed for about 4 or 5 different people to see what came back to me. And I had people swearing blind that they knew the person. And all this. And I knew full well I'd made it up. Just like spur of the moment, there and then. I made it up, but they swore blind that they knew the person and it was genuine. And some people are so gullible.
Yeah.
And this is the issue. Well, like you say, you know yourself, you'll see them. There's a woman on, I forget which one she's on, but she's always showing orbs.
Mm.
My house isn't dirty. This isn't dust. This is orbs.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got that many bloody orbs in your house, I'd be calling the priest in.
No, sorry, Joe. I know you're American, my friend, and I love you. But I saw Ian saying about orbs. I know we're meant to be talking about the forest, but
yeah,
orbs are not my favorite.
I saw. So I don't watch TV in general. I haven't actually watched TV in about 4 years, apart from if I go over to see the kids and they happen to have the telly on. But I happened to watch a little clip of a paranormal caught on camera.
Yeah,
it was Americans. It
Look
was
at that orb.
knee deep in snow. It was a blizzard blowing. They took photographs in a blizzard in a forest. In a cemetery with a forest around it, and went, look at the amount of orbs that are here.
Yeah.
In a blizzard.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I have to agree with you. Orbs are not my favorite thing. I know that there are some energy orbs out there.
Yeah.
I know they are. But I'll tell you, not every bloody dust speck and insect out there is an orb. You have to be very selective, because I've probably seen 5 real orbs in my life, and I've been doing paranormal investigations since 1987. Probably 5 real that I will accept as orbs.
I can honestly, hand on heart, say I've never seen an orb.
I think I've one that I know for a fact I've seen. The other one, I'm not sure 100% if it was an orb or not. So I'd certainly this July will be 41 years that I've been investigating.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen one for definite, possibly a second one.
Yeah.
And the second one was in the forest, ironically.
Yeah. I've been investigating myself. I think I saw my first paranormal experience when I was about 6. I'm 60 this year, so. But I'm hand on heart, I've never ever seen an orb.
They're too that you know of, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean,
I'm aware of. Yeah, I've seen plenty of dust, and
exactly.
Another thing that I've seen quite regularly with the orb stuff. Somebody like orbs caught on camera, and they'll have the camera there in a darkened room, and a dog or a cat will walk past the camera, and then a few seconds later, an orb comes up past the camera.
Yeah,
dogs and cats, they're dust magnets.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
you know, if I patted the dog now, the room would be full of dust.
Yeah,
and I bath her at least once a month. You know.
Yeah, my house isn't dirty. Well, yeah, I beg to differ. I scratch my head with certain when I've not had a bloody shower for a couple of days. You can guarantee there'll be
there's skin flakes and things floating around.
Yeah,
it's too easy. You're a Bolton, aren't you?
Yeah.
How far from Nottingham Forest are you?
50, 60 miles.
Oh, sorry. I was just curious if you've ever gone down there to have an investigate.
No, not to investigate. I was a student in Sheffield, which is not that far up the road, and the only time I ever went to Nottingham, other than for the football, was on the Lash. When I was usually after we'd had a skinful before we went. For years, I didn't realise I'd actually been into the centre because we only ever went to a nightclub, a rock club. So we pile in the car, park in this car park, and straight into this rock club. Well, it was only years after I thought, oh, I have actually been to Nottingham.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering if you'd ever, because obviously you got the legends of Robin Hood there.
Yeah.
And the alleged grave of him, and even though the grave doesn't match up with a story of his death.
There's a grave, big little John and everything.
Yeah. There's several graves for Robin Hood, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's the alleged tree in Nottingham Forest where he was alleged to.
Where he shot the arrow from the place he was getting healed from, or where he died. Yeah. Bury me there.
Yeah. Bury me there. Yeah. There's no way on God's earth that would have happened, apparently.
But if we're talking haunted forests, there's no way you can't mention Cannock Chase.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Black-eyed children.
Some of the stories there.
Gotta love the black-eyed children.
Cannock Chase, all I can say is it's either real or there's some really good drugs in that area.
I wouldn't put it past the last one, having worked down there.
I have been there, but that was about 20 years ago, and I was down there for about an hour, and I went, I ain't staying here, and I came back again.
Yeah.
No.
That whole area isn't the most salubrious.
Yeah. But some of the stories I've heard of Cannock Chase is just ridiculous. Black-eyed children, UFOs, Bigfoot, pigmen, poltergeist, witches, you name it. I don't think there's anything within the paranormal field that hasn't been linked.
The witchy side of it?
The witchy side, I believe.
There's quite a bit of legend behind that. Again, with the black-eyed children. There's quite a few stories around there, but again, some of it's urban myth, some of it's you got to wonder whether it's people jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah, sorry, my cat's started. I can't afford to get him done at the moment, and it's mating season, so he gets on my nerves at the minute.
Cannock Chase is only about an hour from you, though, isn't it? There, Ian.
It's an hour and a half.
Yeah,
it's
Because I looked at it
with traffic over here, it's nearer 2.5.
Yeah, I was in last time I was in Leamington Spa visiting some friends. I had talked about going up to Cannock Chase and looking around, but we never got the chance to. So.
Yeah, well, where I live in Bolton, you could throw a handkerchief over at least 10 majorly haunted buildings and areas.
That's interesting.
There's a pub in the town centre, the Old Man and Scythe, that's been around since, they killed a king there, a lord or something, and that is extremely haunted. And I know that for a fact. I've seen stuff happening there, glasses moving. We went in there when we left school. We went in there for the drink.
As you do.
Sat in one of the side rooms, and there was a guy sat. There's a chair, a three-legged stool, which the guy they hung that was what he last sat in. He sat in it, and it was up on the wall. And this guy's actually sat there having a conversation. And it wasn't him just rambling because he was drunk. He was actually stopping and listening and having a heated conversation. And we're looking at him, he's ratted. And then he got up and he walked out. And the guy said, "Oh no, the landlord at the time said no." He said he's only had the 1 pint. He quite often comes in here and chats with one of the ghosts.
That's awesome.
How far from Giverdown are you, Joe?
Oh, guys, 7 hours.
Oh, so you're quite a distance.
Yeah, quite a distance. It's quite a long time, a long ways. It's way up in Brittany.
Right. because obviously you've got the beasts Yevdan that allegedly roamed the forests. Is it 13th, 14th century?
Right.
And they never fully I don't think they ever fully explained that, did they?
No. The problem I'm having with ghosts and stuff here is, I used to be able to feel them on occasion just a little bit, and then I had my heart attack and my heart transplant and all of that, and ever since then I've been able to feel them a whole lot better. Not that I can see them more often or anything, not that I can hear them more often, but I can feel like an energy coming from the direction that they were at. Nothing special, but it's there. But I can walk around here, like in Carcassonne, where I'm at, down in the Bastille, or even up in the walled city, up in the city of Carcassonne. I can walk around and feel spirits all over the bloody place here.
Yeah.
I can go into my favorite restaurant, and sometimes I'll feel something in there. And even in the pub. But the thing is, though, there's nobody here to talk about ghosts with.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, there's one guy, Jean-Paul, that I could talk to. He and his wife I could talk to a little bit. But then the conversation changes after just a little while, and we'll move on to something more pleasant,
Yeah.
And it's really hard to speak with people. And the people that I know, I could say, hey, let's go investigate this, or let's go do this, is they're 3 and 4 and 5 hours away from here driving. So, they're up in Lille, or they're over in Lyon, they're up in Paris, and other places like that. You just don't find them very often around here. So this weekend, though, we're having there's a paranormal event that they're holding, kind of like they do in the States, I'm guessing, where we have a paranormal convention. And this has been going all over France for the past year. So they're finally making it here to Carcassonne. So I'm going on Saturday. Maybe I'll go Sunday as well, depending on what they've got going on. But it's the very first paranormal anything in public that I've seen here.
That's interesting.
And I've been here 2 years now.
You've already been 2 years already?
Yeah. In fact, today's back on the 18th of March was my 2-year anniversary.
Christ, it don't seem that long ago.
No, it doesn't.
You're better off in France than you would have been back home.
Well, yeah. I would say so at the moment, yes.
Yeah, the way everything is in a minute. But I was just wondering, the beast is ever done. There's theories out there that it was a trained hyena. It was wolves that were doing it. I'm just wondering, because in that short period, it was over 150 people that got killed.
But supposedly, yeah. Is it true though? It's just stories. How many people really got killed? Was it 5? And then they just sort of bumped it over the years?
That's the other thing. Any death that was convenient, it became the beast. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then you throw in the fact that it's been going on for a long time. They want people to come and visit, make money, tourism over the last centuries anyway. And then, of course,
Castle Brand is a prime example.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Prime example of
he was never there at Bram Castle. So, probably wasn't ever there.
Well, there's no record that he ever entered the castle full stop.
Right.
He's literally
as we mentioned last time, there was rumors going around that he was there for a couple of weeks, up to a month, being ransomed. But now there's talk that he was never even there. He never even saw the place.
Yeah, because his place is about 130 miles east of there.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
You're at your neck of the woods, though, and there's a lot of forests in that, though, ain't there? Or there
is. You've also got Pendle.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Pendle Hill, of course.
With the witches.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't make the link to him. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Pendle.
Whole bunch of witchy stuff up there.
Oh, there is, and depending on what you believe.
Yeah. Old Alice Nutter.
Old Alice and all that. Old Demdike. Janice Divine. They took the word of a 9-year-old girl.
On it, yeah.
And she was late. Well, there was a Alice Device who was hanged like 20 years later, whether it was the same one, because she was let go, but she was stood up in court and basically coached.
Right.
She sold 2 families down the.
Same with the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts back then. A couple of little girls got scared, decided they were going to start talking, and that was it.
That's it.
Lots of stuff.
Did they do? Oh yeah, I've got an extra nipple. Well,
right.
No, actually, it's a zit. But
yeah.
But yeah, Pendle's very famous.
Chat with each other for a minute. I'm going to get the cat out because he's yelling and starting to get me nerves. I'll be back 2 seconds.
Yeah. Then you've got all the witch stuff with James I, James VI going on. You know, all the witch stuff and his book and everything.
Well, the what's it called? The Pendle Witches was around that time.
Right, exactly. I think it was toward the end, wasn't it?
Yeah. And they were taken to Lancaster Castle.
Right.
I think it was old Dendyke who died before she ever reached trial. I've been up to Lancaster Castle, the prison, and
it's on my list.
Yeah, it is worth a visit. It's well worth a visit. But
that's one thing I can't stand is the cat constantly yelling. It gets on my nerves, especially when I'm trying to talk paranormal. But so there must be a lot of ghostly tales in the forest near you, then, Ian.
There's quite a few, yeah. But it's a usual thing. It's only you catch stories. They don't make books. They don't make TV programs and that. It's only if you're in the area and, like Joe says, getting anyone to talk about things.
Yeah.
My best time talking to people is in the pub after we've had a pint or two and everybody seems to be getting more relaxed.
Just chilling, yeah.
Yeah, they're just chilling. And you could say, oh, I heard there was something, even if you make it up. I heard this building down the road is haunted, or somebody saw a ghost in this building. And then pretty soon
they can always correct it. Because even if you just make it up, they can always correct you and go, no, that's not the building. It's this one.
Right, it's over there. And then you're like, oh, yeah, okay, that's great. And you get going with it. Pretty soon you're talking about what's going on. But it's usually with the English-speaking people and not so much the French. Mm-hmm. It's the folks from the UK and Ireland and Scotland and America and all of us that are here that get together, on occasion. We get together, have a few pints. And then I start hearing stories.
There's when I used to be, when I was a kid and I was in the Cubs and the Scouts, we used to go to a place called Middlewood.
Mm.
And it was basically, as it suggests, the campsite was in the middle of a wood. And that was allegedly haunted. And we were camping out over the weekends and everything. And we had a few experiences. Some of the lads came back. We've been followed. There used to be a story, again, it's a white woman.
Mm.
She was allegedly murdered and thrown into the pond.
See, where was Ian had to work when we was doing the white woman stories, Joe?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's up?
But, again, we walk round and it get misty and you know yourself, you're walking through any wood at night. You got animals you don't hear in the day. You're always trying to rationalise it.
Yeah.
So if you see something, you're thinking, well, is it just someone? And they're too far away to actually see him.
Yeah.
Or you walk past someone, like I said, the two I know for the facts I've seen, if I didn't know they were dead, I'd have sworn blind they were alive anyway. So we could have walked past someone and...
Yeah. What do you do? Yeah, I've heard so many. It's when I was in when I was living in Norwich. I had a rare day off, and I was having a cup of coffee with my friend Linda, and she was complaining about how her girlfriend was messing her around and this, that, and the other. And it came to her round for buying the coffees. So she went into the cafe. I was sat outside, big cafe window, sat there enjoying the sun, having a coffee. She went and got hers. This couple come up to me and started talking to me and said about how a bomb had only just missed hitting the cathedral in Norwich during the war. And then they chatted to them for about a minute or so. They wandered off. And when she came out, she thought I was on the phone and had been called up to do extra work. So I was doing agency work at the time. And she thought I had a health job to do. I went, no, I was talking to that couple. She went, you were sat there alone.
Yeah.
And I must admit, that was probably the one time in my life I've probably stained my underwear the most.
Yeah.
Wow. Because they was like looking at you two chatting.
Wow. Well, a similar experience. Mate who does not believe in ghosts, doesn't believe in the paranormal at all. There's a scientific explanation for everything.
I try to look at it that way.
Yeah. Well, you do. Like you say, you try and debunk stuff.
And when you can't debunk it, then, well, okay, that's probably
then you start thinking, well, yeah, there might be something. But we do a lot of biking, motorbiking.
Yeah.
And we were out one day up North Yorkshire. We've got our usual haunts, pun intended. Cafes and the like where we stop. We stopped, parked up, went to the local bogs. Lad didn't bother coming with us. He was all right. We walked back, and as we were walking back 100 yards or so, he was talking to someone. We couldn't see anyone. But he was talking, animated, and his hands are going, and he's pointing at the bike and everything.
Yeah.
We walked up. The bloody hell's up with you? What do you mean? Yeah. He said, I've just had a really interesting conversation with a guy. He used to have one of these. We were talking about bikes we've had and everything.
Oh, wow.
Said, Rob, we've just watched you for the last 3-4 minutes. We just walked up. You were on your own. Says he's just walked round the corner. Rob, you were on your own.
Yeah, nobody there.
And he swears blind. We just didn't see him.
Now, the one thing I have noticed, saying about the haunted forest and that, there seems to be a real influx at the moment in the last year or maybe 2 years of people talking more about the Fae and creatures of the forests. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, like I said at the start, it used to be the druids and all that. You've got dryads, wood nymphs, fairies.
Satyrs.
Yeah. You've got all that side of things, and they all died out as the written word and all the rest of it came in, and people travel everywhere.
Romans wiped out the druids, so
we seem to have gone away from that side of things.
The human race needs to definitely go more back that way, I think.
Yeah, I'm an empath. Like you said before, Joe, I can walk into most buildings and tell you whether there's spirit there or not.
I still don't understand what happened with my cooker the other month.
Yeah.
I still really don't understand it.
It's strange. Things happen.
Because of being,
like I say, you've no rational explanation for it.
Because of being in that house, being in house fire when I was younger, because of like the woman I was seeing at the time, my oldest son's mum, paying somebody off and then putting a petrol bomb through the door. I've been really paranoid about fires all the time. I'll check cookers 5 or 6 times a night. I'll check my doors multiple times. There's no way in hell I would have put all of them on.
No.
Right.
And also the sheer fact that I hadn't eaten either for a couple of days because I was on the new meds, so I wasn't eating. I don't understand. But
why would the cooker be on?
Yeah.
And the weird thing is, it was the one that had my frying pan on that had cooking fat in it that wasn't turned on.
Yeah.
Just opposite of what it should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, with the empath stuff, my ex, I started going out with her when I was 15. And she knew I was into the paranormal and all the rest of it. And it was a bit of a moot point with the family.
Yeah.
They didn't take the piss, but they were, we'll see and all this. And are you going on any? Are you going exploring? And an uncle took us out. And we went to this pub for a meal, sat down having the meal. And he kept looking at me and said, between courses, as I'm just going to nip to the loo.
Yeah.
When I walked out, the loos were upstairs. It's an old, really old, fancy building. And as I got to the top of the stairs, I got a weirdest feeling. I'm stood there, I'm just checking a thing in. I went for a pee, I walked back down. And as I sat down, I said, is this place haunted? And they looked at me and says, why? I said, because there's something that happened at the top of those stairs. I said, I believe it. I get impressions. I don't see things. That's how
I get it. I get it as an impression, yeah.
And I said, someone was murdered at the top of those stairs, a young woman. Well, that's what I'm getting. And he said, we brought you here deliberately to see whether you'd
pick it up
on it. And I was right.
Yeah.
And after that, it was like, oh, yeah.
See, the thing with going back to the haunted forest and the fae and all that, you got to think this is in a lot of the stories about fairies and gnomes and this, that, and the other. That was in a time where, how can I put this politely? They were more stupid, basically. Yeah, well, not so much.
No, I don't think they were.
They just didn't know the things that we know nowadays.
Yeah, that side of things is science.
Right. They weren't scientific.
No. And I do believe that in those days they were more. I think as modern human beings, we've lost an awful lot of our abilities.
We lost a lot of our abilities, and we've lost a lot of our knowledge.
Yes,
because we're doing everything based on science.
Everything's science based. Everything's at the speed of light.
Everything's money based now.
Today, it's why not?
Yeah, it's money based now.
Our pace of life is so fast these days.
Like
I said before, we don't walk through anywhere now. We don't walk through dark forests at night. So we don't see the spirits that's there. I mean, again, near us, there's Samlesbury Hall.
That name rings a bell.
Yeah, I've heard of it before.
Yeah. So you look it up, Samlesbury Hall. There's a couple of... There was a Protestant family and a Catholic family. Girl meets boy. And the lad used to come over and see her. Family didn't agree with it. And the two brothers were... So the story goes, legend goes. Excuse me. Waited for him and murdered him. She was, then again, depending on which story you believe, she was either sent away to a convent or something, or she killed herself. Again, there's different the family side of it, you look at the actual history of the family, and she just went on and carried on and lived a normal life.
That kind of links back to when me and Joe were doing the White Ladies. They always seem to have like a cliche to each story.
Yeah.
You know, it's always a scorned lover or a woman on a wedding night, and
jilted on a wedding night or whatever, jilted at the altar or something like that. There's one up
Dunwich, Greyfriars Dunwich. There's a little bit of woodland there. It's only like small copse, but there's a bridge there that just on one side. It's only, to be honest with you can stand underneath it, and yet it's only about that much further above your head. It's only a tiny little thing. But the story of that is very similar to what you said. This couple used to meet there. The father didn't like it, and one rumor says that the father had the guy killed. Another one says that he told him that she'd been sent to London, and the bridge apparently is haunted by her in a wedding dress, waiting for her light to turn up. These are
he's allegedly
very romanticised.
Yeah, exactly. He's allegedly seen in the forest, round there walking to the house.
Right.
She's quite often seen on the main road, and there's again. You hear a lot of evidence like this.
But then again, that goes back to my experiment that I did with a picture of the forest.
Yeah.
I completely made up the story of like screaming children and this and that and the other. I can't remember exactly what it was years ago. And people swore to me outright they had been to that forest and witnessed what I'd written down.
Yeah. Well, with this, again, with her, she seemed to be walking around the perimeter. There's a main road that goes through now, runs through. But people have stopped to pick her up.
Hitchhiker situation.
The hitchhike situation. They've stopped to pick her up.
Yeah.
There's a couple of rumours the people who allegedly did pick her up set off, turned around to talk to her when she wasn't there.
Yeah.
But usually it's they pull up to ask her, because it's usually dark and stormy night.
Yeah.
Young woman by the side of the road. Yeah. Do you need a lift?
Yeah, that's very. Is it? Oh, what's the name of that story? Is it Desolation Mary or something?
There's a few. There's quite a few.
Yeah, famous one in America, something Mary.
Somebody picks her up and she says, "I'm going home. I live here." And they get up there and they get out of the car and she's not in the car and knock on the door. That's my daughter.
That's my daughter. She died so many years ago. Yeah.
But Yul Brynner had a very similar situation, didn't he? The actor Yul Brynner played Kojak.
Yeah.
Yul Brynner. No, that wasn't Yul Brynner that played Kojak. Yul Brynner with the King and
Telly Savalas.
Telly Savalas. Yeah.
Sorry. Bald like me, so I got mixed up.
Yeah, I mean, all bald guys look alike, right?
There's multiple videos out there. He claims he just run out of petrol. And he was on his way to do I think it might have been for Kojak that he was going to the audition for, possibly. And he broke down, and an old man took him to a petrol station, took him back to the car, and he drove off. And he said to the old man, "When I'm rich and famous, I'll give you the $1 or whatever it was that he gave him for the gas back." And the old man gave him the address, and he wrote on a bit of paper. He went to the house after he got famous and became Kojak to give the money back to the man. And the woman said, he's been dead like 5 years. And the way he tells the story, it sounds realistic.
Yeah.
But I think he's an actor.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
The whole point of being an actor is to make it seem realistic.
You want to try telling some of them that?
Well, yeah, I'm not going there. So are there any alleged hauntings in Forest near you, Joe? There's a lot of forests in France, isn't there?
There's quite a few forests in France, and the only things that I can find in the area are apparition sightings, but I can't find stories for the apparitions. There's cryptid stories, but I can't find the stories behind it. People saying, "Oh, I saw something weird in the woods." Could have been a bear, could have been a deer, could have been something in the dark. I just can't find the stories for them. And I've tried, and of course the internet's not going to tell me everything, and the people won't talk about it.
I don't know if it would work over in France, but have you tried Paranormal Database?
I've tried some. There's not a whole lot of info. I do talk to paranormal groups in the areas, but they're a couple of hours away to 6 or 8 hours away of driving to get to them. So it's just online talking and typing, and it's just, and I've got a lot of times I've got to translate because my French is okay, but it's not perfect yet.
Yeah.
So I have to go through and when I start getting into stuff I don't understand, I'll run through the translator and then I'll see what they're saying. So then I answer back and translate. So I make sure I've got things right. So it's a little bit slower, but I mean seconds, but the difference in just typing it originally or out there. Yeah. But open a new tab, put your translator in it, type there, copy it, and put it over. But it's so hard to get stories and things, and then the people that I talk to are up in Lille and Paris and, like I said, Lyon, and you don't get a whole lot of people who know this area. So it's kind of difficult for me. So the only people that I can read that really interested in talking about ghosts, other than ghost hunters, are the English speaking people from England, Ireland, Scotland, US, Mexico, that are here, and we talk about stuff like that. They're all, yay, that's really cool. There's one lady I know that lives right up the street here. She and her daughter are here. She's got a French ID card, but she's been here for a little while, and she's got a UK passport. Speaks with a French accent, with an English accent blended in. So it's kind of interesting.
Wow.
And her daughter has an American accent, so it's really quite cool. But
that's different.
Yeah, but she's interested in the ghosty stuff, but it scares her a little bit. So she really doesn't want to talk about it too much. But she'll ask questions. Blah, blah, blah. She'll ask me a question, and then I'll give her the answer. It's like, okay, let's move on to something else.
You quite often find that, though.
Right.
It's getting them, once you get them talking. But, yourselves, you get people turn around and say, "Oh, fuck it, you're a ghost hunter." That, yeah,
right.
That's one of the reasons why I don't like watching the TV programs, because they're all shit.
They associate you with them.
I love that because it just makes me laugh.
Oh yeah.
I mean, bloody that one with the lads in America.
Zach and all them. Yeah.
Oh, I can't stand him. I'm sorry.
Leslie loves it. Well,
there's a lot of people that love him.
Everything's a demon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It used to not be that way until the production company took over, and they're running the shots now. And then from that point on, it's demon, evil spirit. Come on.
Exactly. But
I do exorcist investigations. That's part of my job, is doing that kind of stuff. And I've done lots of them. And the funny thing is, very seldom is it something that's got a demon involved. Yeah. Very seldom.
How many investigations have you been on yourselves? And absolutely nothing has happened.
Yeah.
Tons.
Yeah, they do an hour's episode.
Yeah, every single episode there's a demon.
Every single episode there's loads and loads going on.
Yeah.
I just sit and laugh at it, but you get arguments between people.
Yeah.
Oh, Most Haunted, it's so fake. You want to watch this? They're all fake.
Yeah.
I'll have a show if they didn't fake it.
Yeah.
There's been numerous times when I've walked into a location, somebody's house, and they say there's stuff going on all the time, I can walk in and I can feel that there's something there, but there's absolutely no activity.
Yeah.
Zero activity anywhere.
That's what I was saying.
Exactly the same. You walk in and you can feel it. You know.
Yeah. There's something there, but there's no activity, so you can't prove it.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't just go in and say, I feel there's something right there in that corner. And it feels feminine to me. Sometimes I can feel that. Sometimes you can't. But it's like, it feels feminine to me, feels older. Somebody is standing right there in that corner. And
as I said to you,
but I can't prove it.
When we done our last live, I was saying to Joe, you can go to say Waverley Hills, for instance. You know, there's stories galore about how haunted that is, and you could go there and you probably get absolutely nothing, or you could be just like driving on the road, an abandoned graveyard or an old church that hardly anybody uses or anything, and get more activity than you've ever had in your life.
Yeah,
right.
So.
I went. Have you heard of Preston Castle up in Iona, California? It was an old boys' reformatory school. That place, I walked in, and it was a public investigation. We bought our tickets and everything. I wanted to go see the place, and I just didn't know if I could get in.
Is that the one that closed down in about 1990?
No, it closed down a lot earlier than that.
That's not what I'm thinking of.
I think
what's it called? Preston Castle.
Preston Castle, yes. It's in Iona, California. But we walked in, and it was a public investigation. We all went in and had different areas that we were in, so we wouldn't bother us. But there were like 4 or 5 per group. I don't like those, but I don't know if I could have ever got in otherwise.
Yeah.
So we're walking around, and they opened up a second building for us down where the good boys were kept. So they weren't kept in the castle itself for the jail kind of situation, the reformatory school type situation.
Yeah.
They were down in this other house where they were given more privileges. Well, we were running around doing the investigation. I could feel there was a lot of stuff going on up in the place. We were doing the VIP meet and greet beforehand, down and having dinner. They had a barbecue going on and stuff. I kept having to look up at this one window on the back of the building. I just kept looking up at it. And I'd sit here and I'd go about and I'd look back up again. My buddy Tim, who was with me at the time, said, "What do you keep looking at?" I don't know. There's just somebody watching us from that window. And you look up, there was supposedly nobody in the building. They hadn't opened it up for anybody yet. And I just keep looking up there and getting the feeling I'm being watched. So I marked where it is in the building and went up there as soon as I could to look around. And sure enough, I felt that there was somebody in the room. Couldn't tell who it was or what. But down in the other building, I'm trying to remember what they called it. It had a different name, but it was 100 yards down the way. 4 stories, basement, and 3 other stories. The guards all lived on the top floor, and then the boys were in the bottom 2 floors. And the middle floor was set up for a kitchen and a ballroom and stuff like that for when they had guests come in. The higher up politicians would all come in and famous people to see how wonderful the school is doing and what wonderful things it's doing for the boys that are in there.
Yeah.
And we were walking through, and down in the basement there was one room with one cot in it, no mattress, but it had a steel cot. And all the windows were bricked in. And I walked in and I go, "Oh God, I feel sick in this place." And I walked back out again, walked back in again. And I kept feeling that there was a kid laying tied down with leather straps on this bed being whipped. And he was trying to get away. He was crying, probably 15, 16 years old, being whipped. And I walked back out and I said, "Oh, that's a horrible place." And I explained to our guide what I kept feeling. So this other guy who had been following us walks in. He says, "Yep, got the same exact thing. Black hair, Hispanic kid." I said, "Good. I've got somebody at least who's, can go over with me, and then we'll either agree or disagree." We walked through that whole place. From what we both picked up, going through at different times and comparing notes later, we both picked up that there was people who would come in and pay the guards so much money so that they could have their way with one of the lads from the first 2 floors. And they would come in and they pay for that. And, it was just a horrible situation. But 2 of us going through, not together, but at different times, going through and collaborating that story was, wow, that was weird. But that was a place that I found really fascinating. It was worse down in the place where the good boys were kept than it was up in the castle itself, up at Preston Castle itself.
See, Ian, a little while ago, Ian mentioned about how, I can't remember exactly what it was, but how stories are changing that. In Epping, there's, I can't remember the name of it, but there's a massive roundabout just literally outside of Epping Forest. And I remember in the 70s, there was a story of a headless horseman and blah, 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 blah. The usual sort of stuff that you hear with these stories.
Yeah.
Now, if you look into it, it's not a headless horseman riding along that bit of road where the roundabout is. It's a headless motorcyclist.
Yeah.
Stories changed for sure.
The stories changed. But I would love to do Epping Forest, but it has just got so dangerous to be down there now. Even in the 70s and the 80s, it was never a safe place. Because as I said to you in chat, the famous Babes in the Woods case where the 2 little girls were raped and murdered. That was Epping Forest.
Yeah.
Then I think it was 1981, I think it was. A woman at High Beach where me and my family used to go for our picnics was found in a car. Somebody just randomly walked up to this woman in the car park and shot her through the neck with a crossbow.
Yeah.
It's in more recent years, it's come out that the Krays buried at least 9 people in Epping Forest. And they thought it was only Jack the Hatter he'd killed, but there was at least 9. There's suicide.
They did a hell of a lot that was never, ever known.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. Well, talking about stories changing. You get... you read into some of them. And then you read into the history of the area. And how many of those haunted areas was the story made up to keep people away?
Yes. Hadley Castle, which ain't too far from me, is very similar to that. It's a lovely old ruin. Really lovely. I've never actually been there in person. I've seen pictures, and we're hoping to take the kids down there during the summer because CJ's got a big interest in history.
Yeah.
Hadley Castle is right by the edge of the Thames. So they used to bring contraband up the Thames, put it into the castle and go, I wouldn't go up there at night. There's ghosts and all that in there. Yeah. So that they could hide their contraband.
Yeah. Well, the smugglers.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cornwall's
there's a white lady on the cliffs and she pushes people off and everything. Oh, yeah, it's a guy in a frock.
Yeah.
And the myths and legends have grown up about it, and it's there purely, like you said, to keep people away from the area.
And the thing is, though, back in them times, people weren't as knowledgeable as we are nowadays and didn't have the access to information like we have nowadays.
Yeah.
And they would have been a lot more superstitious than us. So they would be more likely to believe it.
Yeah, like you said.
Same as with the Bible.
We travel all over the world now. The world is so much smaller. In those days, you've got people who 10 miles away they'd never been.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Back then, some people wouldn't have even ever have left their own village.
Well, no, exactly. I mean,
look at Edinburgh. Edinburgh was a walled city. There was a tax to pay to leave the city and a tax to pay to come in. Yeah. So when people get down there against that gate and they couldn't pay the tax to get out, well, that's the end of their world,
Norwich used to be like that as well.
Yeah. You stay inside the city your whole life.
Where you from in America, Joe?
all over the place. Last was Phoenix, Arizona. Before that was California. Before that was Virginia. Before that was Italy. And Alaska before that, and blah, 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 blah.
You know yourself, there's places in America where they are, for want of a better word, parochial.
Right.
They've never left the area. They've never travelled. They don't know any. I mean, you look at the Amish.
Yeah. They've got no interest in traveling. They're right there.
No interest in anything outside of their community.
Right.
And you see that, but certainly we know with television and everything, because, like I said, the world's such a small place.
Yeah.
There's so many clans and that who have no idea of anything outside their remit, outside the village or.
Exactly. Well, look at in America. Look at Appalachia, the Appalachian Mountains through there, Virginia, and all the way up. Look at some of that stuff. There's stories, and even in some of those towns.
Ozark Howler.
What's that?
The Ozark Howlers from the Appalachians, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
But in Appalachia, you don't go outside at night. You never whistle. You never sing when you're outside. Things like that. There's superstition that says you don't do any of that. And I wouldn't, I'm not a horribly superstitious person, but I would not be caught whistling outside in Appalachia at nighttime.
Mm.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be walking along the road. I'd be in my little house with my doors locked and, playing my guitar or something. So I'm not hearing what's outside. You'll hear people call your name while you're outside. Don't ever answer. None of that. So what causes all of that?
That's what we were saying, Joe. When you get to where then is you get how many of these hauntings are a cover.
Yeah.
For activity.
Yeah.
Well, they used to make moonshine up in the hills there and things like that. But these stories go back long before that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So and a lot of these people that live there have never left or have never gone more than 10 miles from where they were born and raised.
And you can't talk about haunted forest without mentioning Bigfoot.
Oh, well, yeah. It's true.
I must admit, when they done the eDNA of Loch Ness and they found that there's nothing in there whatsoever, I must admit I was heartbroken because I've always wanted Nessie to be real.
Oh yeah, but
I have too.
Nessie was made up to bring tourists up there.
See now the original story was that I can't think of the name of the saint, but he put his hand up. There's somebody swimming or come off a boat or something, and he put his hand up and said, "God send you away," or whatever it was he said, and it was never seen again. Saint Columba. That's how I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
Now, way I've looked at it for years. When I was a kid, it was like, oh yeah, it's a hidden dinosaur in Scotland, and I loved it when I was a kid.
Oh yeah. And
then growing up, I thought, what's the best way? You've had, I think, if I remember rightly, St. Columba came over from Ireland, didn't they?
He did,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the best way to get the heathens to believe in God? Put a story out there that God is so powerful. There was a giant monster in the water, and the word of God scared him away.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there was no reports of Nessie at all until 1939 when the road was put in.
Right.
Yeah, but like I said, it's actually documented.
£40 million a year.
It was actually documented that Nessie was an invention to bring tourists in.
Yeah.
And why not?
Well, yeah, exactly.
And the thing is, they say it's a plesiosaur that lives in there. Well, for one, everyone knows plesiosaurs have been dead for millions of years. But the fact that they say, oh, it swims along, you see its back, then its head comes up and all that, a plesiosaur wasn't capable of lifting its head up out of water.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that it was an air-breathing dinosaur. So So it would have been seen 24 hours a day. It could only go on a plesiosaur could only go under the water for about 40 minutes at a time.
Right.
So why is it only seen like once or twice a year?
Yeah.
You know, but out of all the cryptids in the forest, I think the one that has the potential of being real is Bigfoot.
Yeah, definitely.
Although in the 50s, I know there was the guy that had the wooden cutouts and he was putting them around and all that.
Yeah.
There were some fake ones for sure.
Yeah.
And the Patterson Gimlin film, that's clearly a fake.
Well, yeah.
If it's a female ape, why has it got hair on its breast? You know.
But, yeah, there's so much out there that, like I say, it's only going to get worse with AI.
Mm.
Yeah, AI is going to.
Oh, it has.
It's going to. I mean, like we say, you take photos now. One thing that always gets me though, with technology the way it is, you've got cameras that can show you the end of an arse.
Yeah.
On Mars.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a photo of Bigfoot, and it's as blurred and as.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh yeah, you can just see him moving in the.
I saw a meme just today where they were showing a picture of Mars, and you could see it full detailed, and it said a bank security camera, and it's nothing but blurry spots. Yeah. That's how it is.
Have you seen this man? Is it a man?
Yeah.
Looking at it, there's a white blob and a yeah.
And simply with just one of these, well, not with this one because this one's crap, but with one of those, you can zoom in on the moon to the point that you feel like you're literally sitting in one of the craters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a UFO that could be in my front garden would be like it's been taken on a King Edwards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know,
don't get me started with bloody UFOs, Jesus. there's a light. Yes, a star.
Some years back, CJ, I think CJ is 12 this year. Christ, he's 12 this year. Blimey.
Yeah.
It was when Heidi was pregnant with Harry, and he's 10 in about a week's time. So it's about 10 years ago. I'd gone out to get some chips. While I was standing outside getting the chips, there was an absolutely massive thing that just went through the sky, and it covered probably about 500 or 600 yards in width easily, and it just disappeared in the clouds as if it was disappearing. And I run back to tell Heidi. The following day in the paper, there was over 150 reports of it.
Yeah,
and that was something that was clearly seen.
Right.
Oh yeah, but
like the triangle in Phoenix.
Yeah,
that was there a couple of years before I moved to Phoenix.
Yeah,
but there were a lot of people who saw that too.
Yeah, but how often do you see it?
Right.
You get one person. Oh, if it's that obvious, like you said, there's hundreds of people see it.
Yeah. There was one case.
You get these odd ones. Oh, there's three lights. Oh, and they're moving about. You've no idea how far away it is. You've no idea. You can't hear any noise. That's because it's 5 miles away and the wind's blowing against you.
Yeah.
So you can't hear it. You can't see what it is, but there's lights moving.
Yeah.
So what?
And there was one case quite a few years back, Manchester United. I can't think of they was playing Manchester United were playing somebody to a packed crowd, and a UFO was spotted over the football stadium during the match. I
remember hearing that one.
Yeah.
I've briefly looked into it, but I'm not a big. Yes, there's something there, but I don't think it's aliens.
I think there are aliens. You look at the size of the universe.
There has to be something out there.
Yeah, there has to be something.
But whether they can get to us or not,
it's our arrogance that we're the only living.
Why would they come here? Right,
I still reckon on the fact that we're a penal colony. We were dumped here.
Oh, the old zoo hypothesis.
Yeah, we were dumped here.
But the thing is, if we're here and there is aliens out there that are visiting Earth, that means there's either only us and one other planet, or there's hundreds of or millions of planets with
There's
life
millions
on it.
of planets.
And we're not high enough yet. We're not advanced enough for them to come see us, or
we're
for
not
us to
even
join them.
not even one on the Kardashev scale.
Yeah, well, we can't even get to the moon again right now. So, and that's our satellite. So why would they be interested in having us join their galactic empire or whatever?
The thing is, what is there on Earth that isn't anywhere else? Because if there's us, if there's aliens that supposedly visiting, if there's alien life throughout the universe, to pick up species and breed, there'd be other lives in the universe. Gold, methane, oxygen, you name any chemical you want, it's on every single meteor, comet, planet.
Right. It's all over the place, sure.
You know, the nearest to us is Proxima Centauri, which at our current speeds would take about 140,000 years to get there.
Yeah.
Why would you travel 140,000 years to go and visit Joe Bob having a date with his cousin or his sister out in the middle of a forest?
Well,
right.
I worked, my last place of work, there was a lad there who swears blind he's been abducted by aliens twice.
Mm-mm.
And he's well, everyone knows him as a bleeding crackpot, but he swears blind he has been abducted by aliens twice.
Yeah, I've spoken to people like that.
And
in my previous group I had, Paranormal Whispers, there was a member in there that claimed on a regular basis that they were actually one of these aliens.
Well, depending on which conspiracy theory you buy into, the planet is run by aliens. The ruling classes, the moneyed classes, are all aliens.
People only put those conspiracy theories into effect to hide the truth of the other conspiracy theories that are real.
Oh, actually real.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the video clip I sent you in Messenger. Supposedly the rich people are eating babies, and the social services know about it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I used to start rumours at my last place. Well, dropped 3 or 4 around the building. It was a massive bloody steel fabrication place to see what came back to me.
Yeah.
And I had people swear blind that they knew the person who, and this was what was real. And I knew full well I made it up. And when I told them, I know the lad. Yeah, you know the lad because you're talking to him. It was me. I made it up.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
I am that lad. Yeah.
I am that lad.
Yeah. But no, the reason I brought up the UFOs is because I've mentioned about Bigfoot, and there's a lot of allegedly around the times of people citing Bigfoot there's often UFO reports shortly before or shortly after the sightings.
Yeah.
Usually in forests.
Well, maybe the UFO is dropping off the Bigfoot to walk around for a bit, and they come back and pick them up.
Yeah. My own personal, call it what you like, my own personal theory on that one is that, like I said before, we as humans have lost an awful lot of our abilities. We've lost our pathway. Yeah. You look at ley lines, you look at portals and things like that. And personally, I think Bigfoot uses portals.
Ian mentioning about ley lines just reminded me of something. I don't know if you've ever watched that program, Stephen Fry, QI.
Yeah. I watch it quite often.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I've met him a couple of times because one of my ex-wife's, Kath, she used to work in an off license where he used to go and buy his wine. So I've very briefly had a chance to say hello to him. And from what I've seen, he's fantastic human and his brain's amazing. Yep. But Ian saying about ley lines reminds me of one. They've done a map over Britain of all the ley lines, and people were reporting in of, this has happened here and that had happened there and this had happened there. And all it was is they picked Woolworths and they'd drawn lines between the shops.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it's that, again, the the ley line theory, you look at Glastonbury and all the rest of it, you get people who want to debunk it.
Yeah.
So they will do things like that. If I draw a line between here and Tesco's and I draw a line to that Tesco, and you can prove anything.
Yeah.
They're not proving it doesn't exist. They're just proving that they can draw lines on a map and link things up.
See, the trouble is they often you hear it on TV programs and reading books and all that about how the Druids used ley lines and this, that, and the other. But if you actually look into it, ley lines weren't used until about 1939. I can't remember the author's name, but he'd been out riding on his horse and he came across a church and he thought it's strange that this church is exactly in line with that other church and that's exactly in line with such and such and such and such. And it wasn't until 1939 ley lines as we know it were actually came about.
Well, yeah, because that was when it was christened a ley line.
Yeah.
They are lines of power. What we tend to do is modernise everything.
Yeah.
And put it in a context that people will understand. Or, like say, you want to debunk something, what's the best way of doing it?
Yeah. Well, my
you ridicule it. You prove it can't be right because you do something. Like say, you draw lines between all the Tesco's and pick the ones that actually suit you. Oh yeah, you draw that. There's your ley line.
Yeah.
But you look at the likes of Stonehenge. You look at the likes of the pyramids.
Yeah.
With what they're discovering underneath them now.
Yeah, I have seen it about supposedly chambers or something found under the great. I've not looked into it, in fairness.
No, I must admit I haven't myself. I've not had a chance, but I've seen some of the photos that reckon you're going down thousands of feet.
Yeah. I've seen some of those things, and it looks like AI.
Well, yeah.
AI is just today alone. I must have seen at least 7 or 8 videos supposedly of mermaids that are clearly AI.
Oh yeah.
You know,
this is the thing. You see a lot of it with it, Trump.
Oh yeah.
At the moment, and Stammer, and that's just done by someone like you or I. 10 minutes with the crap AI that we've got.
Yeah.
You look at the technology that's coming up. I mean, the computers we've got are nothing to what the top boffins have got.
Yeah.
You're talking.
It barely works, to be honest. I'm surprised I even got on tonight.
You're talking quantum physics and stuff like that. You look at where we've come from 100 years ago. If you'd shown someone a laptop, they'd have shit himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if they're allowing us the technology like laptops, what's they keeping back?
Yeah.
So you imagine what they're going to be able to do in the future. If they want to frame you, you're going to be.
That was done recently, though, wasn't it? I think it was last year that was done. Somebody who wanted to get revenge on their ex-husband using an AI app and phoned up his boss using the AI app and started slagging him off and got the guy fired.
Yeah.
So.
But that's what I mean. In future, the likes of Putin, if he wants something, he will fabricate. He'll get someone to fabricate it. You refute it. It's clearly there on a video. You're seen doing it.
Yeah.
I saw something the other day that I thought was funny about AI stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a little rubber finger that you can wear as a ring, and it sticks up kind of like this. So you got another finger, and you can go around and say, okay, put it on there, just wear it all day long. When you're out walking around, they got the cameras taking your picture. And then so you do something and somebody grabs you, takes you to court, and you look at the video and you go, that's all AI. Well, what do you mean it's AI? Well, look at that hand. It's got a sixth finger sticking out of the hand.
Yeah.
Well, that wouldn't be no proof over here, Joe, because you got Wigan and they're all six-fingered buggers off.
Well, I've been watching Norwich as well. I know what's going on.
Don't forget Norwich as well, Ian. You got 7 fingers there, mate.
Oh yeah. The only reason they've got 6 fingers in Wigan is so they can hold the pies better.
Well, that's perfect then, isn't it? Really. Can't beat a pie at a football match. Right, guys. So we've been on for about an hour and a half or so. What should we do for the next topic? We wandered off on Forest many times.
I think we just do the same. We pick a topic and we'll base it around it. I've enjoyed.
How about sightings, ghost sightings?
Yeah.
Things that people have seen or say that they've seen or that we've seen. We can talk about our own sightings.
Yeah.
What we've seen. I got a few.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there was when was it? God, it must have been. It was after. It was. Yeah, it was before me and Heidi split. In the little boy, I've said it to you guys before, but I'll say it for the camera. There, 1971, a little boy called Trevor Brian Hammond died of meningitis in what's now CJ's room, and he's regularly heard. Just a few weeks back, Heidi had gone to pick CJ up from school. Me, Harry, and Kai were in the front room. I had Bella with me, had their 2 dogs with me in the front room, and he was running around like good and upstairs, doors banging and all sorts of things. But there's also a negative in there that doesn't like children. But
that's convenient.
We've actually seen it. No, we've actually seen it. When CJ was little, he would regularly describe this tall figure standing in the corner of his room with a menacing look on his face and saying that he hated him. To the point, actually, CJ, I went in there to take pictures to see if I could get something and see if I could pick it up. CJ went into school and said, I was in bed last night, Daddy taking photos. So that caused all sorts of hells. But me and Heidi was standing in the middle of our front room. I was on the sofa. Both the kids were fast asleep. And I was prepared. It was when I had Paranormal Whispers. So Paranormal Angry is 6 years old. So about 6.5 years ago, I was about to go live. She was standing there talking to me, just gassing, shooting the shit. And we both literally saw a figure walk from her window, literally through her body. And she literally felt it, this dark figure, go through her body. And that's happened 3 times in the 9 years she's lived there. And on one of me lives, I actually managed to pick something up screaming. Like I don't believe in demons, but it was what you would call like almost demonic scream.
Yeah. What you say about kids?
Yeah.
What we were talking about before about everything's science these days, and kids see and believe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
As adults, we see and don't believe.
Yeah.
Well, some of us see and don't believe.
Well, yeah. But like I say, we're empaths. We can pick up on stuff. As people won't. If it's not science, it's not there. And the human brain we're geared with religion, with all, but kids don't have that belief system.
Yeah.
So they will talk. Yeah, they will talk to the man or the woman who's in the room.
CJ done that just before the last Christmas. Heidi was telling me about it on the phone the following day. He was laying in bed and he called her in, and she said it was about 3-4 o'clock in the morning. And he said, "Can you tell these people to shut up? 'Cause I'm trying to sleep."
Yeah.
So, and that was. Now I'm wondering if he picked up on, because Trevor, it was October 71 that Trevor died. I'm wondering if CJ picked up like a residue of the mum and dad talking about the little boy dying.
Maybe so. Or some other conversation that was recorded.
Yeah.
In the walls and the whatever.
Yeah.
Stone tape theory. Yeah. Well, it is one. I'm going to have to go because I need a pee.
I need a pee.
It is one to consider for next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
So
we see ghosts, if we see ghosts, and there's interaction, to them, are we the ghost?
Oh, that's a good question.
I'll leave that one with you. And like I say, I'm going to have to go. Been great talking to you, lads.
It's been fantastic. I've been waiting for this all week, and I've really enjoyed it, guys. Yeah. So, the other one, I've got to start learning how to use tags on YouTube. I don't know how to use tags for people to find it. I'm too stupid when it comes to computers to learn that sort of thing.
No, you're not. You've just not had enough experience of doing it. It becomes second nature.
Look at all the trouble we had last time when we tried to go live.
Yeah, well, like I said, we're live.
They're blocking us. Facebook is blocking stuff, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just put my tinfoil hat on.
There you go.
But no, guys, I know we was meant to be talking about haunted forests, and we did briefly touch on them, but I think this format of just randomly talking is have a set topic, as Ian said. Have a set topic and then just see where it goes from there.
Just see where it rambles to, yeah.
So, guys, Ian, Joe, thanks for stopping by.
Yep.
And enjoy the rest of your evening, guys.
You too.
You too. Enjoy it. Have a good one.
Thank you, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.
Bye.
There we go. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys.